Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to for StarCraft 2 strategy. Today we're going to be bringing you a Terran strategy. Now in this particular replay, our Terran player is Sarins, and our Zerg opponent is Mad Frog. Now what we're going to be looking at today for our Terran strategy is going for that 5 racks Reaper build and then transitioning into Marine Marauder Medivac. Some key notes that we're also going to be looking at is in that Marine Marauder Medivac build, our Zerg opponent is going to go for a proper response in Banelings, and we're going to look at some actually good Marine micro against Banelings and how that Marine Marauder mix can still be effective against a Zerg player who goes Banelings as long as you can micro properly. Primarily though, again, we're going to be opening up with that 5 racks Reaper build. Also, we're going to be opening up with a fast expansion. In going for those early Reapers, you can really pressure your Zerg opponent and kind of keep them defensive and in their base, just because the threat of Reapers in their base is so strong. They kind of need Speedlings to be held back in their base to defend against that. Otherwise, you can just pick off at their units and their queens and their buildings. It can be a real pain in the butt for a Zerg player. So, again, in going for this early Reaper build, this early strong Reaper build, you're going to do very well against a Zerg player. Something else I really want to note here is that with this past patch that we just had, increasing the build time of Reapers by 5 seconds, I really feel like a lot of Terran players just kind of threw their hands up in the air and said, well, Reapers aren't effective anymore, not going to make them. You should note that that's not the case. Reapers are still very strong. Yes, those 5 seconds slightly delay the harassment you're going to be able to do. It also gives them that much more time to come up with a response to a Reaper build, but Reapers are still going to be effective. They are no less strong against Zerg than they were pre-patch. They just take a little bit longer to get out, and that shouldn't deter you too much. Going for a heavy Reaper build is still going to be very well against Zerg. You're going to see in particular why in this strategy replay. I'm going to go over this early build order real quick. Very standard stuff, that 10 supply depot followed by the 12 barracks, Refinery at 13, Orbital Command coming down at 15. The reason this is 15 instead of 16 is because typically you get that 16th supply by building a Marine right away out of this first barracks. We are of course attaching that tech lab immediately to the barracks so we can get those Reapers as fast as possible, and that is why that Orbital Command was going at 15 instead of 16. Also at 15, basically right when you started building that Orbital Command is when you start putting this tech lab on. Now that this tech lab is done, we're going to go ahead and start researching our first Reaper. Now, as you can see in scouting our opponent, we did see this fast expansion. That spawning pool is coming up right there, and there's that extractor. Again, I am going to provide you guys with the replay for this, so you don't really have to worry. You're going to be able to check all those things out on your own. First Reaper just about out. We have our Nitro packs coming. Started researching those at 17 supply. Now, something I want to note is that I told you before that we were going to be going, I don't know what the heck all of this is. I don't know what's going on over there. We are going to be going for a fast expansion. It's definitely because of the fact, I mean, it is intended in this build, in this particular build, but coupled with the fact that our Zerg opponent did fast expand. This fast expansion is likely to be delayed if your opponent doesn't expand as well. If you're coming up against a Zerg opponent and you don't see them going for a fast expansion, then concentrate on that 5 racks Reaper build initially, and then move out with your expansion about when they expand as well. That's essentially what we're going to look to do. Now back at our base, again, we have, since we did see that expansion, we're going to try to keep up this Reaper harass as much as possible, but we have went ahead and dropped an expansion ourselves. Also came out with our second Refinery at 22 supply. Going for this 5 racks Reaper build is very gas intensive, so you're going to need that second Refinery pretty early. Nitro packs just finished researching, greatly increasing the effectiveness of our Reaper harassment. Basically up until the point that the speed research is finished for our Zerg opponent, there's very little that they're going to be able to do to handle these Reapers. So just keep up this Reaper harassment. We're coming out with these 2 additional barracks. These were both dropped at 25 and 26 supply respectively. Putting down this bunker as well at the expansion of your Zerg opponent can be very strong for you. It's going to provide you a nice position for your Reapers to retreat to, and they can just pop out whenever they feel like it and continue up the harassment. So I strongly suggest that. The other good thing too is, while your Zerg opponent is building their expansion, this creep is not on the ground, so you can build the bunker fairly close. In fact, a lot of times you can actually get the bunker to a spot where when the Reapers sit inside of it, they're going to be able to hit that expansion. If you can manage to do that, they pretty much lose their expansion no matter what. There's nothing they can really do about that at that point. So as you can see, we do have these 2 additional barracks up right now. I'm going to be putting tech labs on those because, again, we're starting out with that 5 racks Reaper build. Basically, at this point, we're just going to keep producing these Reapers. Now, our Zerg opponent does have the speed upgrade, but that shouldn't deter you too much. Basically, what you're going to need to do at this point is make sure you keep your Reapers somewhere near a ledge. In open ground, the Speedlings are going to be able to catch up to and surround your Reapers, but as long as you're on a map with lots of ledges in the main bases and around the expansions, just like this map here, they're going to do very well still, so you can continue to maintain this heavy Reaper production. Basically up until they get Roaches or they go for some sort of air like Mutalisks. Up until that point, this mass Reaper build is going to be very strong. As you can see, these additional 2 barracks are up. We dropped both of these at 34 supply. And at this point, you know, we're just defending our Orbital Command, again, until the point that he goes for either Roaches or Mutalisks. We're fine with this mass Reaper build, to be perfectly honest with you. There isn't much of a reason for you to stop doing this. Now, we don't know at this point, but as you can see, our Zerg opponent is transitioning into the Spire. We're eventually going to get that scouting information with the scan. This is why it's so important to keep up scouting information. Here you go, that scan drops right there. We see the Spire. Now, you may say, well, what if you put the Spire elsewhere? Well, the good thing with your Reapers, you have so much mobility, especially with those Nitro packs. You can scout their base almost entirely before they manage to kill off anything. Now, since we saw what we needed to see, we're not going to be throwing our Reapers in here to suicide for scouting information. But if you didn't see a Spire or any text transition, I would strongly suggest sacrificing a few Reapers just to get some scouting information, because obviously they're not just going to stick to the Speedling build when it's not working whatsoever. So again, with those fast Reapers and with all these ledges, we were easily able to defend this fast expansion. So we're going to get this up, get this saturated. Try not to let that happen ever in any of your games, regardless. Make sure you always have your command center at your expansion rallied to those minerals. There you go, finally did that. Now, with this expansion up, we're going to start being able to produce additional barracks. Again, continuing this harassment, utilizing those ledges with these Reapers as much as possible. But we are going to start being able to get these additional barracks. Also, we did drop an engineering bay when we saw that Spire was coming up. You want to do that so you can get some turrets to defend your mineral line. Also, we're going to be making that transition into that Marine Marauder build at this point as well. Starting off with basically just Marines, we're going to be going Marine heavy because of the fact that we know that Spire is coming. We're going to need Marines to fend off those Mutalisks. Also, going to definitely want to be getting all those upgrades. You're going to want your stim pack, you're going to want your combat shield. Getting level 1 upgrades really smart as well. Also, if you can get concussive shells at some point, in case he does transition into into Roaches. Also, those concussive shells are going to help you slow down any incoming banelings. And again, I told you earlier in the video, we are going to be taking a good look at some Marine micro against banelings. And basically what you're going to want to do is, in seeing an incoming baneling force, you're going to want to have your Marauders stay where they are. Specifically select all of your Marines. You can do that by double clicking a Marine on screen or doing that control click as well, and then pull your Marines back, allowing the Marauders to take the brunt of the baneling force, and keeping those Marines alive is going to allow you to, after the banelings are dead, fend off any Mutalisks. Because basically what a lot of players will do in the Speedling Baneling Muta build is they'll take out the Marines with the Speedlings and the banelings, and then they'll use the Mutalisks to just mop up any Marauders, because Marauders obviously can't hit air until, of course, I think maybe the next patch they're going to give Marauders an upgrade so that they can hit air units. Just kidding. Could you imagine how bad people would rage? That'd be absolutely terrible. Yeah, so basically at this point, you know, we're going to keep continuing to produce barracks, because with this expansion we do have the economy to do so. Again, we got those upgrades for our units, and we're going to be just pumping out Marines and Marauders at this point. Like I said prior, though, we're going to be sticking primarily with Marines initially, because we do know these Mutalisks are here on the board. At this point, we really don't have the option of running into his base and killing that Spire. Just with the Reapers we have, he'd be able to quickly take them out before we did enough damage to take it out anyways. So just going to be sticking with heavy Marines and then transitioning into Marauders. We do know that the likely response in our opponent, obviously as you can see here, your opponent sees that you're going for Marine heavy to counter his Mutalisks. His likely response almost always is going to be Banelings. That's why that Speedling Baneling Mutalisk build is so strong. And you see it so often because it's an effective build. But like I said, with coupled with some good micro, getting your upgrades so that you can take them down pretty quickly, you can still do well against it. It's very dangerous. You do have to be very careful. Something else that's going to really help you in this situation too is, if you have your Reapers still alive like we do here, sending them out to do harassment, scout for expansions, and try to take them out. Reapers do very well against buildings, obviously. And you can take down expansions pretty quick. Another thing too is if you can try to do two-pronged attacks, that can be effective as well. As you can see, we found this expansion here. We're going to be taking out with our Reapers, but at the exact same time hitting him at the front of his base. This forces him to make the decision of either I'm going to go expand, either I'm going to go defend my expansion, or I'm going to defend my main base. 9 times out of 10, the response you're going to see is him defending his main base. This is a situation that preferably you would avoid. As you can see there, those banelings just came in and completely mopped up our units. Unfortunately, since we did get hit from both sides, from those speedlings and banelings, and those Mutalisks mopped in shortly thereafter, we weren't able to micro our Marines away. That was a very tough situation. But another key thing to note is, if you still have these Reapers alive, continue this harassment. Find those expansions, take them out as quickly as possible. Basically, the reason he was forced to pull back his speedlings, banelings, and Mutalisks here was to defend this. Otherwise, we would have immediately seen a counterattack. Now, we do have a pretty strong group here, so we could have done well against that counterattack, but still, there's a chance he may have taken out this Orbital Command, and that would have been really dangerous. So, with that said, as long as you still have units on the board, more specifically, as long as you have those Reapers. Oh, there we go. That's specifically what I wanted to talk about. I'm going to do something here that I've never done in any of my videos before, and I'm just going to back this up because I do think that's really important that you guys note that. So what we're going to be looking at here is we're moving out with our force. We're going to be pushing towards our opponent's base to try to take them out. We see these banelings coming in. What you want to do is control-click all of your Marines and pull them away from those banelings and then continue firing. Had they stayed on the front lines there, what could have very well happened is the banelings would have taken them all out. I mean, that's what banelings do. They take out light units very, very efficiently. But since we pulled all of our Marines back, we were able to keep them alive, and that's something to note, that this bio build is going to be susceptible to banelings unless you can properly micro your Marines away from any banelings you see. And if you can do so, it can still be very effective. So try to practice that in your games. Try to practice keeping your Marines a safe distance away from those banelings and kind of using those Marauders as meat shields. Now at this point we're going to be pushing in, and because we've kept up harassment so well, because we've kind of stopped our opponent from being able to expand, and here you go, that transition into Medivacs, as you see. Basically, our Zerg opponent didn't have the economy and the resources necessary to build a sufficient army to counteract what we're doing. And that's kind of the beauty of Reapers. Now, I know Reapers only took part in the beginning portions of this game, but we still had that small group of Reapers late game, and that is really what allowed us to take out our opponent very efficiently with this build. So I'm just going to go over that build order real quick. I know that I hadn't mentioned this transition. Again, this replay will be provided for you so you can see when that took place. But at some point, you definitely want to drop down this factory to get the Starport with the reactor to start getting those Medivacs, because those Medivacs do very well in conjunction with these Marines and Marauders. The basic beginning build order that we took a look at, again, we started off with that 5 racks build. It's going to be 10 supply depot followed by 12 barracks, 13 refinery, and then 15 orbital command, as well at 15 getting this tech lab right away on this barracks. 17, basically right when the tech lab drops, we start researching our Nitro packs. Again, at that point, we get our first Reaper. 21 supply. In seeing our Zerg opponent going for that expansion, we decided to drop an expansion ourselves, because with this Reaper harassment, we can keep them contained in their base for the most part. At 22 supply, getting that second refinery, because again, this 5 racks Reaper build, very, very gas intensive. 25 and 26 supply, we got our 2 barracks, additional 2 barracks, so we had 3 at that point. And then at 34 supply, we got 2 more barracks, putting us at that 5 racks Reaper build. Now once those Reapers became less effective, and more specifically once we saw that Spire was going down, we began our transition into heavy Marine, also getting this engineering base so we could get our upgrades for our units, as well as these turrets to defend our mineral lines. And yeah guys, good transition, really solid build. Use those Reapers to contain your Zerg opponent, and you can do very well with this. So once again guys, this has been for StarCraft 2 Strategy. If you guys like our videos and you like what we're doing here, please do go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Keep watching and keep owning guys. Also, key note here, bringing up SCVs, this is going to be vital in your first push. As you can see, again, that second weapon level upgrade is just about finished, and that's about when we're going to be pushing out as well. So bring up these SCVs, put them on auto repair by right-clicking the repair button, and basically they're just going to automatically repair any Thors that happen to get low.